I helped my best friend start her business, wrote her pitch, stayed up all night. But then she went viral on TV and called me just her intern. I believed in her before the world even knew her name. I still remember the first night she came to me crying. It was raining, her makeup was smeared, her hair tangled, and her spirit shattered. She had just been fired again from another boutique marketing firm. That made it her third job loss in under a year. But I didn't care. I made space on my couch, put on her favorite sad movie, and stayed up all night listening to her cry about how she felt invisible, underappreciated, and how no one would ever believe in her ideas. I want to start my own thing, she had whispered through tears. But no one would invest in me. I'm nothing. No, I said, grabbing her hand. You're everything. And if no one else will invest in you, I will. That was the night I became the unpaid co-founder, the invisible engine, the ghostwriter behind her dreams. Her name was Madison, and we had been best friends since college, though we couldn't have been more different. She was bold, impulsive, and charismatic. People noticed her in every room. I was quieter, more reserved, always the one behind the scenes, organizing, planning, supporting. But we fit together like a lock and key. She had the charm. I had the discipline. So when we decided to bring her idea to life, a lifestyle brand for sustainable home goods, it wasn't just her project. It became our mission. She had the vision. I created the brand. I stayed up till 3 a.m. designing the logo. I built the website from scratch. I researched suppliers, tracked orders, and personally drove around town delivering sample boxes when she was too tired. She called me her right hand, and for a long time, I believed that meant something. I was working 2 jobs at the time, tutoring kids during the day, and helping at a cafe at night just to make rent. But every spare moment in between, I poured into her dream. I wrote her business pitch. I rehearsed it with her until she could say it with confidence. I curated her content, designed her pitch deck, and even helped her craft the perfect origin story, one that tugged at emotions and looked great in interviews. She always said, "You're the brain behind the magic. I'd be lost without you." And God, did I believe her. We built her brand from the ground up. It started small, just an Instagram page and a handful of orders. But soon, things picked up. Influencers started reposting her products. Then a local journalist featured us in an eco-living blog. Orders tripled overnight. But us was slowly becoming her. She started saying my company in meetings. She introduced me as her assistant once during a vendor call and brushed it off like a joke. When I laughed uncomfortably and corrected her, she rolled her eyes like I was being sensitive. I didn't say much. After all, I wasn't in it for the credit. I just wanted to see her win. But over time, the small jabs started piling up. "I'll handle the press stuff," she said one day when a podcast asked to interview us both. "They're not looking for behind-the-scenes people. You're not really the face, you know?" She didn't even ask me. She just said it. Still, I stayed. I kept designing her packaging, answering her emails, and cleaning up the messes she didn't notice. I wasn't getting paid, not even a stipend. But I kept telling myself, when we make it, it'll all be worth it. Then came the investor meeting. A local angel investor wanted to back her brand. Big time. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and the deck we sent him? I built it. Every chart, every forecast, every single word. Madison, of course, presented it in her flawless, confident way. But the skeleton? That was all me. He invested. 6 figures. We screamed. We cried. We danced in the living room that night like kids who just got into their dream college. We did it, I whispered, hugging her. "I did it," she said playfully, and took another swig of champagne. Again. A joke. But my chest hurt anyway. From that day forward, things started changing fast. She got an office. I wasn't invited to help pick it out. She hired 2 interns, both of whom thought I was one of them. She started dressing differently, acting like a boss, speaking in sound bites as if she were constantly being recorded. And maybe that should have been the red flag. She wanted to be watched. She wanted the world to see her. She told me she was submitting an application for a televised business showcase, one of those entrepreneurship reality segments where up-and-coming founders pitch their brands live and go viral if they impress the judges. I helped her prep for the interview. We practiced in my kitchen, night after night, until her voice didn't shake anymore. "You're the best," she said. "Seriously, if I ever win anything, I'll drag you on stage with me." That was a lie. The morning this segment aired, I sat alone in my apartment, coffee in hand, eyes glued to the screen. She walked on stage looking radiant, poised, magnetic, confident. She introduced her brand, told the origin story we had carefully crafted together. She cracked jokes, showed off the packaging I had designed, and delivered the same pitch I had written for her. Then came the question from the host. "So did you build this all by yourself?" She smiled, bright, proud, polished. "I mean, mostly, yeah," she said with a coy laugh. "I had an intern in the early days who helped a bit with logistics. But the heart and soul of this was me." Intern. She called me an intern. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I watched the audience clap for her. I watched the likes explode online. I watched her follower count climb into the hundreds of thousands. She went viral. Sponsors reached out. Retailers called. She was being celebrated everywhere as a solo, self-made genius. And I sat there, alone in my one-bedroom apartment, wearing the same hoodie I wore while building her pitch deck, with tears silently falling down my cheeks. I had been erased. She used me, dismissed me, and now she was rewriting history in real time. She had become everything she said she'd never be. And I had become everything I feared, disposable. But I wasn't done. Because while she built her empire on lies, I still had every receipt. It wasn't just about the credit. It was about the erasure. I didn't text her that day. Didn't congratulate her. Didn't say anything. She didn't notice. Instead, my phone lit up with links and messages from mutual friends. "Madison was amazing on TV. You must be so proud of her. Wait, weren't you part of that company too?" That last one hit like a blade. Because even people who knew the truth had started to forget it. The next day, her face was everywhere. Magazine blogs, Instagram reels, even a viral TikTok about young women founders crushing it. And not once did she mention me. I tried to swallow it. I tried to be mature. I told myself maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Maybe she didn't mean it. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. Because Madison didn't forget things by accident. She curated everything, every word, every image, every post. And if she had wanted to credit me, she would have. A few days later, she texted, "Maddie, OMG, we hit 500K followers today, going out to celebrate tonight. Come?" I didn't reply. A week passed. Then two. No apology. No explanation. No mention of what she'd said on national television. Instead, her Instagram turned into a shrine of self-worship. She started using phrases like self-made and from the ground up. Her captions were full of gratitude, but never for me. Always for the hustle, the universe, the journey. It was like I never existed. Then came the final slap. I found a podcast interview she'd done. In it, she talked about the early days. "There were definitely challenges," she said. "But I didn't have a team or anything. Just me, late nights, lots of mistakes. I learned it all by doing." I paused the audio. No team? No mention of me delivering her samples at 2 a.m. No mention of the nights we cried together over rejected orders. No mention of the time I sold my own laptop to pay for her product shoot. Gone. All of it. Rewritten. She was building her empire brick by brick, using my hands, and then pretending she did it alone. And something inside me snapped. I went to the old shared Google Drive. The one we'd used before she switched everything to her private corporate email. I opened the folder named Origins. It was all there. The first draft of her brand story, written by me. The original pitch deck, every slide formatted by me. A folder called Packaging Concepts, 17 versions I'd made for her, labeled for Maddie's review. Voice memos of her panicking before interviews. Me calming her down, coaching her, word by word. I had kept it all. Because I believed in what we were building. Because I believed in her. And now, it was evidence. Still, I didn't want to go nuclear. Not yet. I wanted to give her one last chance. So I called her. When she picked up, her voice was sugar sweet. Hey babe. So good to hear from you. I waited. Waited for her to say it. To apologize. To acknowledge me. To tell the truth. But she didn't. Instead, she gushed about her new office space. About the upcoming collaboration with a skincare brand. About the influencer retreat she was invited to next month. Like I was just another fan. Finally, I said, Madison, I saw your interview. There was a pause. Oh, which one? She asked too quickly. TV. The one where you said you had an intern who helped with logistics. Another pause. Longer. Oh, that? She laughed. Laughed. Come on, don't take that seriously. You know how media stuff works. They want a clean story. Solo founder. Girl boss energy. It's just branding. My jaw clenched. You called me an intern. I didn't mean it like that, she said, voice tightening. You know I love you. But you were never technically a co-founder. We didn't have any contracts, babe. Babe. That word, again. Used like a balm to cover a bullet wound. No, I said quietly. We didn't have contracts because I trusted you. She sighed. Look, you were amazing in the beginning, and I appreciate it. But this business has grown, and I've invested so much into shaping it alone now. The brand. It's me. That's just how it turned out. It hit me in the gut. How it turned out. Like I just faded away by accident? I gave you everything, I said, trying to stay calm. I built this with you. I helped create this brand. And you erased me. You're being dramatic, she snapped. Why are you acting like I owe you something? Silence. I had no words. Because what do you say when someone tells you your sacrifices meant nothing? She continued, voice colder now. I'm sorry if you feel left out. But that's not my fault. If you wanted to be part of this officially, you should have handled that when we started. There it was. The truth beneath her fake smiles. She never saw me as equal. Never planned to share the spotlight. Never intended to take me with her. I hung up without another word. Then I opened the folder again. The receipts. The voice memos. The timestamps. The screenshots. The emails. I hadn't just been a helper. I had been the architect. And now, I was done being quiet. She thought she could rewrite history. But she forgot one thing. I'm the one who wrote the original script. When someone steals your story, you don't stay quiet. You write a louder one. After that phone call, something in me shut down, and something else switched on. Anger? Maybe. Grief? Definitely. But more than that, clarity. For months, I told myself to be patient, that recognition didn't matter, that maybe Madison would eventually do the right thing. But that was a lie I clung to because the truth was too painful. She was never going to share the credit. Because she liked being seen as the solo genius. Because she needed to feel like she'd done it all herself. And I had helped her build that illusion. I made it too easy for her to erase me. But not anymore. The next few days, I barely slept. Not because I was hurt, though I was, but because I was thinking. Planning, gathering. I didn't want revenge for the sake of it. I wanted truth. So I started with what I had. A digital trail. Years of Google Docs, dated, time-stamped, edited with notes that clearly showed my authorship. Emails with her saying, "Can you finish this pitch deck for me?" Or, "You're a wizard with words. I couldn't have done this without you." Dozens of chat logs where we brainstormed together, where I helped her write her first product descriptions, social media captions, and even her FAQ page. I organized everything in a folder I called The Real Story. I also had those early photos, behind the scenes snapshots of me and her working at my dining table, sticky notes all over the walls, whiteboards full of ideas I had scribbled. And then, the audio. Madison never turned off voice memos. She liked recording everything for reference. Ironically, it gave me proof, her own voice saying things like, "I suck at this stuff. Thank God you're doing all the writing. You seriously saved me. I'd be lost without you. I wish I had half your brain. You do everything." I even had one clip where she clearly said, "We should register as co-founders when this takes off. I'll draft something later." She never did. But now, I had it all in her own words. And suddenly, a switch flipped. I realized something she didn't expect. She had underestimated me. Because I wasn't just the quiet, invisible girl in the background. I was the foundation. And now I was going to flip the spotlight. It started subtly. I created a Medium blog post. Nothing dramatic, just an open letter titled, "To the one who called me her intern, here's what I actually did." I didn't use her name. I didn't mention the brand. I didn't accuse. I documented. I shared our story from the beginning. How we'd started in my apartment. How I built the website. How I wrote the pitch that got her the investor. I included screenshots, time-stamped files, photos, voice memo transcripts. I told the truth and let the reader connect the dots. Then I posted it on Reddit under r/entrepreneur, r/small business, and r/female founders. It blew up. The comments poured in. "Wow, she really used you. I work in PR. This is textbook erasure. You don't need to name names. We know who you're talking about." And then came the DMs. Former interns, vendors, even a couple of freelance designers. People who had worked briefly with Madison, had been ghosted, underpaid, or uncredited. One girl sent me a message. She told me she did everything alone, but I literally created her first promo video and she never paid me. It wasn't just me. Madison had made a habit of stepping on people to climb. And now, they were all talking. Within a few days, TikTok picked it up. A popular commentary creator made a video with the headline, "When the girl boss forgot who built the brand." She connected my blog post to Madison's viral segment. She even played clips side by side, Madison's TV interview versus the voice memo where she called me her brain. The video got over 2 million views in 48 hours. Comments flooded in. "Wait, she's the intern? That's insane. This is why you always document your work. The real founder is the silent one, always." Madison didn't post for 3 days. And when she finally did, it was a disaster. She put up a half-hearted Instagram story. "There's been a lot of misinformation out there. I've always been grateful to everyone who helped me build my vision. It's sad to see private moments twisted for clout. No apology. No correction. Just deflection." But it didn't work. Because now, people wanted answers. They asked about me in the comments. They dug up old posts. They asked where her team really went. They noticed the shift from humble beginnings to suspicious silence. She started bleeding followers. Brands quietly paused collaborations. The skincare company canceled the joint promo. Even the podcast that had gushed over her deleted their episode and issued a vague, "We stand with creators" tweet. She was spiraling. And I watched, not with joy, not even revenge in my heart, but with peace. Because for the first time, people were seeing what I had always known. I wasn't invisible. I had just been made to feel that way. She tried to bury me, but she didn't know I was the one holding the shovel. One night, I got an email. Subject line, story rights, documentary interest. A small but credible indie film crew was working on a docu-series about silent labor behind viral startups. They asked if I'd be willing to talk, to share what happened, to tell the story from the other side of the spotlight. I said yes. And just like that, the girl who was once called just the intern became the one telling the real story. She built her empire on my silence. So I turned my silence into a megaphone. By the time the documentary team finished our first interview, I realized something. I didn't want revenge in the way Madison feared. I didn't want to destroy her. I just wanted my story to exist, publicly, truthfully, and permanently. So while she scrambled for PR teams and damage control, I leaned into what I did best. Telling the story that mattered. I wasn't trying to take her business down. I was simply reclaiming the foundation I'd built. And the public? They responded. After the viral TikToks and Reddit threads, a growing number of creators started tagging me. Some small business influencers made explainer videos titled things like, "The ghostwriter behind the girl boss, a modern betrayal. This is why verbal agreements aren't enough. Protect your work." When the intern is the actual founder. My Medium post was now being translated into other languages. I got emails from women in Brazil, India, the UK, all saying, "This happened to me too." I was no longer just a ghost. I was proof for thousands of people who'd been uncredited, unpaid, or rewritten out of their own stories. But I wasn't done yet, because Madison still hadn't said my name. Even after the world caught on, even after public pressure, even after sponsors pulled back. She was holding out, waiting for it to pass. Because in her mind, all press was good press. And maybe, in time, she could outrun the damage. That's when I did something even she wouldn't expect. I created a brand. A real one. Not a blog, not a shade post. A legitimate registered company. I called it Second Line Studio. It was a nod to what I had always been, the second line of the credits. The invisible force. The backstage builder. But now, it was the headline. I created a simple mission. To highlight and empower the people who never get credited. Writers, designers, assistants, interns, co-creators who are erased from their own success stories. And the first project I launched? A digital archive where people could upload their anonymous contributions to projects that went on to become public hits without ever being acknowledged. They could timestamp them, tell their side of the story, even publish them as protected testimony. It was a movement. The media called it the Anti-Ghost Project. Madison was livid. I know because she finally called me. Her voice was tight, forced calm. "Hey, I saw the site. I saw the interviews. Can we talk?" I paused. "What about?" "I just think it's gone too far," she said. "You've made your point. You've gotten attention. But this is hurting people now. My team's getting hate." I blinked. Her team? She never cared about people getting hurt when I was working for free while she took interviews. Did I lie? I asked her quietly. Silence. "I just think this whole thing got twisted," she finally muttered. "You never said you wanted to be a co-founder back then. You didn't ask for equity. If you had." "I didn't ask," I interrupted, "because I didn't think I had to. You said we were building this together." She sighed. "I didn't know it would get this big. If I could go back, I'd do it differently." "That's the difference between you and me," I said. "I always planned like it would get big. Because I believed in it. And I believed in you." Another pause. Then, defensively, she said, "So what do you want? An apology on Instagram? A shout out? Equity?" I didn't flinch. "No," I said. "I want my story. And now I have it." And I ended the call. Weeks passed. My platform grew. Second Line Studio wasn't just a personal project anymore. It was being invited to speak at panels. Universities reached out asking me to guest lecture on creative labor and credit. Freelancers messaged me every day, some crying, some grateful, some just needing to say. I thought I was the only one. I wasn't seeking fame. I wasn't chasing followers. But now, people were listening, because I had the one thing that couldn't be denied: the truth. And then, the final twist came. I got an email from a woman named Julia, a mid-level producer at a major media outlet. She had been assigned to interview Madison for a "Where Is She Now?" segment, a kind of follow-up to her viral rise. But Julia had done her homework. "I read your piece," she wrote, "and I believe people need to hear both sides. Would you be willing to appear on camera, not to slam her, but to share your experience, your growth, and how you're helping others now?" I didn't even hesitate. We recorded the segment a week later, me in soft light, seated with a mug in hand, speaking calmly. I didn't mention Madison's name. I didn't need to. I talked about credit, sacrifice, erasure, and how so many people never get their due because they don't look like founders. They don't take up space. They don't self-promote. They just do the work. The segment aired under the title, "The Girl Behind the Brand: When Helping Becomes Erasure," and it aired on the same network that had first launched Madison to fame. Within hours, it was trending on Twitter. This time, I was in the spotlight. Not as a victim, not as a bitter ex-friend, but as a builder, a founder, a storyteller. Madison's silence stretched into weeks. Eventually, she locked down her comment sections, turned off DMs, released one final statement, a generic apology with legal-safe language and vague references to oversights and unintended harm. It was too late. Because no PR firm can clean up a legacy written in someone else's ink. She built her success on my silence. But I was the one who gave her the mic. 6 months later, I received a notification on LinkedIn that made me freeze. Madison Avery is now following Second Line Studio. It felt surreal. After everything, the betrayal, the interviews, the fallout, she was now following the platform I built to protect people like me. I stared at the notification for a long time. I never followed her back. By now, Second Line Studio had grown into something far bigger than I imagined. We'd partnered with legal advisors to offer free credit and IP consulting to freelance creatives. A small fund had even been established, the Ghost Fund, that provided grants to people who had proof of uncredited work in major projects. My inbox was overflowing with thank yous. People sent me photos of their first copyright registrations, their first contracts, their first time speaking up. I was no longer haunted by Madison's name, but she was haunted by mine, because her brand had never fully recovered. Not financially, she still had her investor money, though even that had slowed. But publicly, the shine was gone. The girl who once represented the dream now represented the cautionary tale. Brands had grown careful about vetting founders. Podcasts stopped using terms like self-made without proof. Some even began asking a new question in founder interviews. Who helped you build this, and did they get credit? That ripple effect? It came from me. And yet, despite everything, I hadn't exposed everything. Not yet. Not out of mercy, but because I'd been waiting for this. 2 weeks after Madison followed Second Line Studio, I got a forwarded email from a former editor I knew. It was a media pitch Madison had sent, trying to reclaim her narrative again. The subject line read, "How I Lost Everything and Found Myself Again." She was pitching herself as the victim, the misunderstood founder, the woman who was vilified for telling a single clumsy story and was now advocating for fair credit and collaboration. I wanted to laugh. Instead, I clicked open the sample op-ed she had attached. And that's when I saw it. The first paragraph was eerily familiar. Too familiar. Word for word, it was lifted from the About section of my own blog post, the first one that went viral. She hadn't even changed the sentence structure. I scrolled down, my heart going cold. She had plagiarized me again. Not my work this time, not my designs, my branding, my pitch decks, but my voice, my language, my pain. She had found a new way to use me. That was the last straw. I sent the editor side-by-side screenshots, dates, links, The original blog post. Her new pitch. The copied phrasing. The editor responded, "This is unacceptable. Thank you for sending proof. We've removed her submission." That same day, I posted a new blog entry. Not angry. Not emotional. Just titled, "When They Copy Your Silence, and Then Your Story." In it, I detailed everything. The timeline. The emails. The new pitch. The copied lines. And I ended with one quiet sentence. "Some people will rewrite your ending, unless you write it first." It exploded. Even people who had moved on came back to comment. The narrative was now complete. The mask fully removed. 2 months later, I got an envelope in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a note. "I know sorry is too small. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I finally see it. Thank you for building what I tried to steal. You are everything I pretended to be." I sat with that letter for a long time. And then I tucked it into the back of a filing drawer labeled Unfinished Chapters. Because Madison's apology didn't change what she'd done. But my voice changed what would happen to the next girl like me. And that was enough. She called me just her intern. But I turned that into a movement and built a world where no one like me would ever go unnamed again.